Jasper Gonzo here. What's next? I was going to make this video into two different parts. One of them happened to be an article that I caught on Yahoo in regards to those in Hollywood, those in entertainment, or Hollywoke, excuse me, should have a right to speak regarding politics and social issues. And I'm not saying they don't, but when it comes to the platforms, yeah, you may want to choose it away from you singing, from your movie making, from your television making. But that got pushed to the side. Article that went viral yesterday, actually pictures that went viral yesterday regarding one Lebron James, or as I affectionately like to call him, Lebroney, has not just surfaced, but pictures that were tweeted, doxing was involved, and of course the deletion of those tweets. This will be real quick only because the main story I was going to focus on today, this morning, was, quote, systemic racism and how bad and truly evil it is in America. Let's take a look. This comes out of Delays. This was recently updated. Quote, "You're next. Lebron James threatens officer who allegedly shot knife-wielding teen." He deleted the tweet amid furious backlash, and rightly so. There's Lebron James, who thinks he's the smartest man in the room. He thinks he's the biggest brain in the room, and most likely he ends up being the biggest moron in the room. But you be the judge. Of course, this was updated to quote from the editor. The story has been updated to include Mr. James' explanation for his original tweet targeting the officer. Oh, this should be good. Lebron James publicly threatened a Columbus police officer on Wednesday, posting a picture of the officer's face on Twitter to his 50 million followers with the message, "You're next." The image of the officer was captured from video of the aftermath of the fatal police shooting of a 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant from the day before, when an officer intervened as Bryant attacked another young woman with a knife. Hence, black on black crime. But that's never spoken because, shh, that's the dirty little secret. Details. Bryant was shot around 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday and can be seen on body cam footage in an altercation with one female, shoving her to the ground before swinging a knife at a second female. The officer responded to the scene, fired at Bryant before she stabbed the second woman. Bryant later died at the hospital. Despite the footage showing Bryant attacking others with a deadly weapon, James targeted the officer, shocker, blasting out the officer's picture with the message, "You are next," with an emoji of an hourglass and the hashtag accountability. Of course, the officer's face has been blanked out due to protection of identity. But then again, it was already thrown out there, but for these purposes. Of course, you can see here Lebron James puts in caps, "You're next," accountability. James's tweet was deleted more than an hour later as other Twitterers expressed fury over his threat. Just a few comments. Senator Tom Cotton tweeted in response, "Lebron James is inciting violence against Ohio police officer. This is disgraceful and dangerous. Is the NBA okay with this? Is Twitter?" Senator Cotton, I can answer that in one word. Yes, and I'm sorry, two words. Emphatically, yes. Outkick founder Clay Travis responded to James. Quote, "Did you ever watch the video, bud? He shot a woman armed with a knife trying to kill an unarmed person. Here's his perspective. This is even more shameful than you shutting up and dribbling for your boy, Chairman Xi, in China. Ouch. But facts." conservative writer Carmine Sabia told the LA Lakers star, quote, "You are a buffoon. You saved a black girl from being murdered. He saved a black girl from being murdered. Believe me, he will not even lose his job for it. He did his job. You should be in prison for endangering this man's life. Give up your police protection, LeBron. Then you can allow teens to stab you if you want." Oof. The National Fraternal Order of Police responded, quote, Lebroney, with his vast resources and influence, should educate himself and, frankly, has a responsibility to do so on the facts before weighing in. This is disgraceful and extremely reckless. The officer saved the young girl's life. No amount of gaslighting will change that fact. Still getting used to the keyboard button configuration. Real quick on this. The fact of the matter is that when you have someone, as I said in the beginning, who supposedly is, quote, educated, quote, big-brained, quote, smart, and then comes off sounding stupid, which Lebron James has done time and time and time again. But when it comes to the 10,000-pound gorilla sitting in the middle of the room, i.e. China, LeBron shuts up. Oh, I know nothing. He plays the Schultz role. I know nothing. I see nothing. I hear nothing. LeBron, you are nothing. You're trash. And for you to be making comments like this is one of the biggest reasons that the NBA ratings have trashed and have tanked over the last year. You were pretty much almost the linchpin regarding the NBA ratings. And if I'm the commissioner of the NBA, Commissioner Silver, I would think about seriously pushing for a suspension of you. But then again, he won't do it. Lebroney is the cash cow, and you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. But then again, that's just me. But I wanted to get on this real quick only because of how serious this is, because of putting a cop's life in danger by blasting his face all over Twitter and then making derogatory comments at him, threatening comments at him. But sadly, this is the world we live in when you have Hollywood and sports woke colluding together, when you have someone who is so ignorant and ignorant as Lebron James weighing in. And once again, instead of letting the full video play out or watching the full video play out, and it was not only on those capturing it, but on his body cam, clearly shows that he was in the right. But then again, like Obama, like Joe Dementia, when you are ignorant, you're ignorant. That's what that is. But we're going to move on to systematic Rahcism. Yes, systematic Rahcism that has run rampant through this country for decades, shall I say centuries. But we are going to start off with a little ditty. And this comes from someone who I have tremendous respect for. And the man has a vast wealth of knowledge. This is on the Mark Levin show. And of course, another one who has extreme knowledge and someone who I have tremendous respect for also as well. And but this is something that is very worthwhile. And if you don't know who Thomas Sowell is, look him up, YouTube him up. He, along with Walt Williams, Milton Friedman, tremendous people with vast amounts of knowledge regarding the economy, the border, racism in America. But this is Thomas Sowell. We'll take a look at him, and here we go.
You hear this phrase, systemic racism, systemic oppression. You hear it on our college campuses. You hear it from very wealthy and fabulously famous sports stars. You hear it from media types. You hear it. First of all, what does that mean? And whatever it means, is it true?
It really has no meaning that can be specified and tested in the way that one tests hypotheses. It does remind me of the propaganda tactics of Joseph Goebbels during the age of the Nazis, in which he's supposed to have said that people will believe any lie if it's repeated long enough and loud enough.
Preach.
And that's what we're getting. I don't think, it's one of many words that I don't think even the people who use it have any clear idea what they're saying. Their purpose is served by having other people cave in.
And you know, Dr. Sowell, I notice most people who use that phrase don't live in the communities that they claim to be supporting and defending. Some of them have left those communities never to return except on Thanksgiving to hand out turkeys. Others throw their money into these communities for a school or so forth, but they don't live there. They don't send their kids to school there. They live among the quote-unquote systemically racist, I suppose. And isn't this part of the problem with the Marxist left? They're absolute hypocrites. They claim they want equality for all. They claim that there'll be the withering away of the state, the police departments, reimagine law enforcement and so forth and so on. And yet every time you look at a Marxist state, it is an authoritarian, top-down, centralized police state. Is it not?
Absolutely. And trying to get away from social class differences, they create their own nomenclature, who have their own stores that they alone can shop in, their own medical facilities, their own everything.
I want to know if you agree with me or not. You don't have to, obviously. I see the 1860 election and the 1864 election as the two most important elections in American history. And now I see 2020 as one of the most important elections in history. Even apart from the candidates, we're talking about the 1776 project versus the 1619 project. And you can see where the Democrats have tied into the 1619 project, and many of the Republicans are trying to defend the founding in the 1776 project. Do you see it that way?
Well, what I see is that if the election goes to Biden.
Okay. Regarding Black Lives Matter, co-founder cashes in on systemic racism. Now, this was a story that was talked about a week or so ago, when the story broke out that the co-founder, cashed in on systemic racism. Yes. When she decided to buy a $1.4 million house in Los Angeles in one of the most affluent white neighborhoods. Yes, white neighborhoods. She didn't buy the house in Atlanta. She didn't buy the house in Baltimore. She didn't buy the house in Louisiana. She didn't buy the house in Detroit. She bought the house in Los Angeles. Now, as we know, these are trained Marxists, and they've even said it themselves. The Black Lives Matter organization is a corrupt and destructive organization, as we saw over the last year with the burnings, the lootings, the riotings, over a dozen cities, over $2 billion in damage, as I said in a previous video. But when you are someone like Miss Colors, just make sure, Patrice Colors, who drops $1.4 million in Topanga Canyon, California. I said Los Angeles, my correction, Topanga Canyon, California, with a white population of 88.2% and a black population of 0.4%. Yeah. Not exactly living in the hood, are we? But then again, when you basically blackmailed. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shook down. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When you got donations of $90 million last year because of your peaceful protesting and your fighting for the cause. Yeah. You can't make up stuff like this. But with that being said, I'm going to move on to this subject of systemic racism. And this is the most heinous, like I said, this is just evil. These are the victims of systemic racism. The wealthiest African American celebrities as of July 13th of 2020. These are the victims of systemic racism. One of them, it just disgusts me. Victim number one, Oprah Winfrey. Estimated worth, $2.8 billion. Creator of the Oprah Winfrey Show. Former television newscaster out of Atlanta and Baltimore. Has her own network, which of course is now owned by Discovery. But still, victim. Victim number two, Robert F. Smith, entrepreneur, $2.5 billion. Number three, I can't believe that Michael Jordan is a victim. I can't believe that he has sustained this oppression for so many years. You know, Hall of Famer, 6-time NBA world champion, 6-time NBA MVP, unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame, considered the GOAT, greatest of all time. No, not you, Lebroney. Michael Jordan's no jackass. $650 million, but of course that is a rough estimate. Some people say that it is up to $1 billion if you count in Nike. Sean Puffy Combs. As we all know, P. Diddy. A paltry $620 million. Tiger Woods, who is recovering from an accident. Roughly $600 million, up to $1 billion if you count endorsements. Robert L. Johnson, entrepreneur, $580 million. Mariah Carey, singer, songwriter, entertainer, $510 million. Wow, she's 50 years old? I didn't know that. Wow. Magic Johnson, Hall of Famer, NBA world champion, entrepreneur, $500 million. Jay-Z, rapper, entrepreneur, $475 million. Sheila Johnson, entrepreneur, $400 million. And I can go on and on only because I think the list is maybe like about 20 or 30, maybe even 40 deep. But these are the victims of systemic racism. And speaking of stupid, Joe Dementia and Kamala, I slept my way up, Harris. Derek Chauvin trial, a call to root out systemic racism in America. I'm going to go through this real quick only because this video is longer than I thought it would be, only because of the Lebron James debacle. President Joe Dementia reacted Tuesday to the verdict of Derek Chauvin trial, finding him guilty in the murder, of course, George Floyd. Quote, it was a murder in the full light of day, and it ripped the blinders off the whole world to see systemic racism, a stain on our nation's soul, Joe Dementia said in a speech that was written in crayon. Biden described the verdict as a step forward. He also said it was much too rare. Law enforcement was successfully prosecuting the death of a black man in their custody. A murder that lasted more than 10 minutes in broad daylight for everyone in the whole world to see. No, it didn't. It was around 9 minutes and so. But there are extenuating circumstances in regards to, yeah, how that came about, but guilty nonetheless. President Kamala introduced Joe Dementia, recalling the long history of systemic racism in America, where black people were treated throughout the course of our history as less than human. Again, America has its flaws, it has its foibles, but it's still the greatest nation on God's green earth. Their lives must be valued in the education system, healthcare system, our housing system, our economic system, our criminal justice system, our nation, she said, quote, full stop. Say, not a take. Excuse me. Systemic racism doesn't exist. You can't define it. You got the left trying to put their little definitions on it. Webster, Merriam-Webster Dictionary doesn't have a definition on it. Dictionary.com doesn't have a definition on it because it does not exist. I've said in previous videos, it's been a while back though, regarding systemic racism is that you can't define it, you can't pinpoint it out, you can't be specific about it because it is collective. Racism is the individual. Whether you are white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. It is up to the individual to do something like this. Racism is a learned trait. It's not inherent. You were not born to be racist, as those who have said, like one Barack Obama, who said it was ingrained in our DNA that we are racist. No. Sorry, Barack. We're not. We're not. Dogs and cats are not natural enemies because they hate each other, because they're racist toward each other. It's a learned trait. You take a dog and a cat and you raise them as puppies and kittens, and they love each other for the rest of their lives. Same thing with human beings. You have a black child, you have a white child, and you raise them up. You teach them the right way, the godly way, respectful way, and they turn out fine. Now, there are circumstances, neighborhoods, towns, economic venues, circumstances beyond their control. But at the end of the day, it is a learned trait. And for anybody to think anything otherwise, you're ignorant. You're stupid. It is what it is. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is what's next. If you want to see more videos just like this, please leave a comment below, like it, share it, hit that subscription button, slam that notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.